bookkeeping is what I've done for so long. It's like my adopted child. It's such a paradox because if you have it wrong, then everything's a mess because it is foundational. Not everything needs to be consolidated into one. It could be just a feature driven.
What's your favorite quote you like to live by?
Nothing is as constant as change.
Welcome to a new episode of Make It Count. Today we're joined by Thomas Kim, founder of the Wonderful Tax Group, a firm dedicated to simplifying accounting, taxes, and providing personalized financial solutions for individuals and businesses. Previously, Tommy has spent over 7 years as an accounting controller at Tabular, managing everything from financial statements to audit support for diverse industries like tech startups, non-profits, and medical practices. Before that, he played a key role as an accounting consultant at CliftonLarsonAllen, streamlining financial operations for a $20 million advertising agency. Through Wonderful Tax Group, Tommy continues to leverage his expertise to help clients navigate business complexities and achieve financial clarity. I've yet to meet another financial expert with Tommy's depth of knowledge and dedication to helping businesses thrive. So with that, let's dive in.
Hi, Tommy. Welcome to Make It Count podcast. We're very grateful to have you today.
Hey, David. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
I think, first of all, we met about 6 months ago in your beautiful Midtown office, and you wanted to meet you to just learn from all your amazing bookkeeping, accounting experience. I think you mentioned you've been doing corporate accounting for 20 years, and I remember I was just very curious to just learn from your amazing experience. But so first of all, just thank you for being such a big supporter for everything I do, and I'd be willing to just share all your amazing knowledge over the years. So I'm very excited for today to share your knowledge to a lot of people and listeners.
You're by far, pretty much neck and neck with my mom. You're my biggest fan. So thank you. Thank you for your support as well. So it goes both ways.
Thank you, Tommy. I guess maybe for our listeners, could you maybe share a little bit about yourself and, some of your amazing experience in the space?
Yeah, so a quick synopsis of who I am, what I do. I am a freelance slash fractional controller, bookkeeper, all things accounting for small business owners. That's what I've been doing for the last 9 years. And recently, I decided to get into tax. So I got my enrolled agent status, my enrolled agent license, and as now I have a Wonderful Tax Group. That's my business. I'm looking forward to my first tax season in 2025. So yeah, I have a lot of experience in corporate accounting and QuickBooks and financial statements for small and mid-sized businesses. But now it's going to be my first playtime, first performance in the taxes. So I'm looking very forward to that as well.
Very cool. I was curious, what are you most looking forward to with your first busy season coming up just in a few months?
It's really interesting because this whole time I've been in the B2B world. First, before early in my career, I was just another cog in the corporate world. Then I became a freelancer, which is just dealing with other small business owners. Now I'm dealing with the actual people who make this world go around, who the other piece of the equation where it's dentists and it's artists and it's just two salaried people, middle managers, senior managers. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting because I thought crazy business owners are just out there making money, but also have no sense of organization and discipline when it comes to business and financials and taxes. But then I'm going to be dealing with people who have just been a W-2 salary for their entire careers. So it's going to be an interesting dance. I'm looking forward to it.
Very cool. I'm very excited for you. Well, I know you're going to be more than ready to conquer this new adventure. Maybe just a question. I know you highlighted earlier, you used to be a controller. You've been in corporate accounting for close to or about 20 years. You worked in businesses, corporates. What gave you the confidence to move out of in-house to start something yourself? And how did that transition happen? Was that how long ago and all that?
Confidence is such a luxury. It's more out of desperation. It's more out of depression. I didn't like the here's how I describe it to myself and to my friends. Like, like especially people in their, mid 30s, reaching 40s, they're pretty much see the pinnacle of their career. They're trying to see if they're going to make it to the finish line to retirement or take a 180, do something different. It's really a struggle between prestige and independence. So for me, I was a senior accountant at a really big real estate asset management company. And I was trying to figure out, because I didn't have my CPA at my time. I was like, what, 27? And I was thinking about getting my CPA and going through all the examinations, maybe switching to an accounting firm, so on and so forth. But it just really rubbed me the wrong way of just dealing more of that prestige. With prestige comes bureaucracy, so just dealing with that is bureaucracy
Mm.
on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to taking the turn, which was what I did, is embracing independence but dealing with instability.
Yeah.
So the unpredictability of being a one person run business. So but for me, it fit me way better because I rather deal with the battles of independence than with the battles of prestige.
Yeah. First of all, that's so admirable. I feel like that's really how people get really far, in life, and really taking a bet on themselves, and going against the grain and doing something very different. So, first of all, congratulations. I'm sure it's playing out, and you're about to go into that next phase of growth, which is very exciting. Maybe just backtracking a bit to help listeners understand. I guess, why are you thinking about moving into tax? Like, how did that come about? And you were doing bookkeeping and accounting for a while. Yeah, just want to hear some of the thought process there.
Yeah, I didn't really want to admit it because I love bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is what I've done for so long. It's like my adopted child that I love so much, my Jon Snow.
Yeah.
But I was coming into a lot of friction where I realized bookkeeping is so valuable, but it's also like unappreciated. It's such a paradox because if you have it wrong, then everything's a mess because it is foundational. But if you do have it right and it's just rote and you take it for granted, and especially from a client side, business owner perspective. So, and in terms of offerings, I've seen it time and time again from my colleagues or just small regional, even the big boys out there, the big accounting firms out there, where bookkeeping it's really on the bottom of their service totem pole, whether you want to see as prestige, whether you want to see as value add. So I realized like I've been doing bookkeeping for so long and it's been rewarding, but it's also been a little bit of not a little bit, it's been tough. And I knew I needed something else to get into. That's when I had a light bulb moment of getting my EA and yeah, getting into taxes.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
Maybe a quick one on that. Is that a prerequisite? You need to do your EA to be able to start offering other services like tax?
In the US, from what I've seen, is that as far as taxes go, the verticality of taxes for both individual and businesses, I mean, it's just an amazing license. It's an amazing status that, you
Nice.
do a little bit of studying, which was really fun for me. I actually miss studying. I haven't studied for anything for so long,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a lot of fun for that 6 months or so to study and to take those tests. And it's really not that bad at all. It's compared to what most people go through to get their CPA. It's almost I like to think that it's like a practice run almost, really, compared to like the 4 exams of CPA. So it's way less studying, way more focused, way more specialized. And if you're kind of a contrarian like myself and like most EAs are running their own tax shop, you're gonna have so much fun with that. You're gonna take that and go to places and do a lot of great things and just be a pivotal member of your community, really. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Very cool. Sorry, what does EA stand for again? Just for the listeners?
Enrolled agent.
Enrolled agent. Very cool. Yeah. You made me kind of remember like myself when I was doing my chartered accountant degree in Australia. That was, yeah, working full time, and then studying like 4 hours every evening till midnight, and then I was teaching myself how to code as well, like from midnight to 1, 2 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, they were some good old days. I don't miss studying, but I love reading and learning. And these days we have all these amazing AI tools for me to just.
David, how is the chartered accounting process compared to the US CPA process?
Yeah, it's very interesting in Australia. So Australia is pretty unique, I would say. Like rest of the world, I think CPA is more prestige, and in the US, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is only CPA and maybe there's nothing else. Well, there's the EA, like you just mentioned, but in that realm, I don't think there's anything else in the US. But in Australia, you can either do the chartered accountant or the CPA degree. And in Australia, chartered accountant is seen as the more difficult and more prestigious degree. So you'd have some big fours and some accounting firms where they only accept chartered accountants and CAs instead of CPAs. Yeah, it was very interesting. And then growing up, I was like, rest of the world, and they're like, no, we only do CPAs. So I was like very confused, but those were some nuances in Australia.
That's really interesting. In the US, there's CPA and there's everything else. I literally was just talking to a prospective tax client yesterday, and she was asking me, "What is this enrolled agent thing? How come you're not a CPA?" And I just admired, I thanked her for her honest questioning. That's always a good sign. I like that. And I said that's a perfectly legitimate question. CPA is a gold standard. It's just they've that license in the AICPA, I believe that's the American Institute of CPAs. I'm not completely sure about that. But that organization and just basically the accounting industry, they made that their golden boy. They made that license such a marketing staple that everyone knows that. Everyone knows what a CPA is. Everyone knows what a CFO is. So it's really funny how we arrived there, but there's so many professional certifications below that. CMA is right up there, but no one really knows about it. Certified managerial accountant, management accountant, or managerial accountant, which is you have to take two out of the four exams, from what I believe, from what I remember, of the CPA licensing exams. So there's some overlap, but hardly anyone knows about what a CMA is. And within the finance world, people really respect CFAs as well. But once again, that's the finance thing. That's not too as ubiquitous as CPA is. Everyone knows and admires what a CPA is. I
Yeah.
had to tell my own parents what a EA is and how come I'm not becoming a CPA. So that was really funny.
That's cool. Well, thank you for that, Tommy. Well, congratulations on getting this certification recently. Maybe we can pivot to a bit on your firm and discuss a little bit more about that. Like, is there an area of focus for clients, area of like type of customers you like to work with?
Well, naturally, it's a twofold process where it's kind of tugging at each other. Where one, I'm so green, I'm a rookie, I'm a newbie, so I would just be happy to get any kind of business and just kind of really, it's not really about making money, but it's really about learning and just to trying to plan my, just to learn it, just to get a hold of the learning curve, really. But it's also like I have so much bookkeeping experience so that any solopreneur, any small business will like to combine their bookkeeping and taxes to a single point of contact to me really on a regular basis. So it's like any accounting tax question just comes to me. So that would be my bread and butter right off the bat. So I already speak Schedule C's and business deductions and so on and so forth. So yeah, that would be naturally what I would try to jump into.
I know you mentioned before we're speaking now, you had some clients in like restaurants, non-profits, I guess creative solopreneurs. How have you found working with these different type of clients in different industries? Has bookkeeping or working with these different industries, has it varied or differentiated in any
Yeah,
way?
people always ask me like, do I specialize? Do I focus? I don't because I found out that it's more of a personality match because you'll find very organized people in very creative, even blue collar type industries. Like running a restaurant, owning and running a restaurant is a very, very difficult thing where the chance of failure is so high. But I've come across a lot of, not a lot, just a very few. I only have one restaurant type client right now, And he's very organized, very smart, and he's been in this business for a long time, and he's very generous with his time and energy as well. And but it's very difficult to find people like that. I've seen a lot of people in finance where they have some kind of consulting practice, they have their own little investment shop, and they're just such a mess. They're very creative, they're great speakers, they're great, social intelligence is really high, but like I'm I'm prying into their books. They're very vulnerable, they're very embarrassed, and everything's a mess,
Yeah.
which is great for me to come in and clean up. So it's not really an industry type. I would be great if I was known as some, bookkeeping master guru in certain niches. That'd be great for my name to get out there. But that just hasn't happened for me, and I'm very comfortable with it. I tend to get along really well with the creative types, but also have at least a very strong appreciation for good, prudent business practices.
Yeah. You make me really think about like you kind of go for ones where, irrespective of industry or what they do, it's like aligned in values, aligned in just thinking, aligned in how they work and operate. And you prefer clients that are sharp and diligent and easy to work with. I guess that's the most important thing.
Yeah, the trust, respect, that trifecta, it goes both ways. I have to trust and respect my clients. I mean, of course, not all your clients can be angels or you'd be broke, right? But still, like, it's much more enjoyable to be working for and working with people that you always enjoy hearing from them.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, keeping on this like topic with clients and all that, how have you kind of grew your practice over the years? How have you won new work, won new clients, and how have they known what Tommy does and all the great things you do?
It's not so much. I think time and time again, I'm always proven, like fate or destiny or the universe. Like it's always shown to me that I have to believe in my instincts and my first gut reactions. And do I like not just the owner, the business decision maker, but do I like their business? Do I understand their business? And like I was helping out for a couple of years, I was helping out with this tech startup, and I just did not understand what they were trying to do. But I was like, well, I'm not in tech, I'm not in this part of tech, I don't speak their language. There's a lot of science behind it. And so, but there is some money coming in, going out, so I can help them with their books, and they seem to might like me, I seem to like them. So, and it went far on for years, and turns out they're basically fraudulent here.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I don't know where they are, what they're still doing, if they're
Wow.
still around. And but I actually kind of apprehensive, but also expecting to get some kind of scary phone call or visit from the FBI that I now have to be a part of a witness for criminal process. So, but we'll see what happens. But it was just shown to me again that with that example, it's a crazy example, but like I have enough experience. I've had enough experience from the get-go that I need to understand the business. I need to understand my parameters. Just like any relationship, you have to
Yeah.
understand your boundaries.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. What a crazy story. Sometimes professional service and advisors, you don't know what you're going to get into sometimes. And I'm sure you did all your upfront due diligence with some of the client you just spoke to. And I think that part, like some people forget how crazy a day-to-day, a life of an advisor can be.
Yeah, and due diligence, David, that's such a funny concept now that you brought up here, because there is no due diligence when it comes to just bookkeeping or taxes. You just get their bank statements, get their prior tax returns, get some access to some apps like
Yeah.
Stripe or Shopify, whatever they're selling on, maybe payroll if they have it. That's about it. But you're not looking into their contracts. You're not looking into what they're actually selling. You're not looking into the clients, customer reviews. You're not doing that kind of. You're not going that in depth. You just want to, do their books and get paid. So it's like such a funny concept. What like the actual hard due diligence is for bookkeeping slash tax business.
That's true. And I guess that could vary. Obviously, you're a one-person firm, and then maybe if a big four or mid-tier like does their onboarding process, maybe that could be a bit different. So I think it's like all those nuances. Very cool. I guess maybe a question on clients as well. Do you have a great like client story that you just really enjoy? Do you have a favorite client? And yeah, would just love to hear some like success stories that you just love and really resonate with.
I'll give you two stories. One's a success, one's a failure. Let's start with the failure. Oh no, let's start with the success. The failures are more interesting. I was brought on actually by friend slash colleague of mine. She hit me up out of the blue asking, "Hey Tommy, are you still doing bookkeeping?" I said, "Yeah." Well, I actually was doing bookkeeping and I have to leave this little part-time freelance thing. Would you like to talk with him? I was like, "Sure, I'd love to." So I started talking with him and turns out these couple of guys were working on this very cool little startup product, tech startup product, and it was within the like the fantasy sports world, like fantasy football here in the US. So it's like, okay, these guys are cool. They didn't, they had some investing. I don't want to get too much into details of what their funding was like, but they definitely had some money to work on. It's all pre-revenue. There was some activity going on, so maybe a little bit of post-revenue, but not like fully on the market, not like making headlines or anything. But yeah, I was helping out with them books, and then suddenly within a few months, the founder was like, "Hey, I think we're gonna get acquired. Can you help us go through the acquisition?" I'm like, "Sure, I can help you as much as I can, but I've never done this before." He's like, "I think you're smart enough to help us out here."
I love it.
So it was a crazy time. It was a crazy crunch for anyone who's done the financials of a M&A deal. No matter, there's no such thing as a small M&A deal when it comes to finance and accounting. You got lawyers involved, you got accountants involved, you got finance people involved. And this was really interesting and really rewarding because having multiple drafts, multiple details of the financials going back and forth. At the end, there's a closing costs, and from the company being acquired, you have to send all your last invoices
Yeah.
before you get acquired. And the founder was very generous. It's like, okay, you send me your invoice, and I send my invoice. He's like, "Hey, you want to just double it?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Just double it? Because I'm not paying for it. The people buying are paying for it, and you're just one dude, and they have no sense of marketplace for your services. So
Amazing.
just double it." And I doubled it. It was just one of the nicest, funniest things
That's awesome.
that happened to me from such a great customer success story. A failure is a very short but quick one. And I happened to get in touch with this business. I don't want to say what kind of industry they're in, but they had a store downtown. Didn't look too bad, but it was kind of empty. It was just the owner there that I talked to on the phone for a while, for a little bit. And we started talking, and I said, it's just as we're wrapping up the little face-to-face talk, it was the first time talking in person. I said, so if you could just send me your bank statements and your tax returns, for my reference, I can figure out your financials. He's
Mm.
like, "There's a problem." I was like, "What is it? What's the problem?" He's like, "I haven't filed taxes." I'm like, "What do you mean you haven't filed taxes?" He's like, "I haven't filed taxes in the last couple of years." I'm like, "You haven't filed taxes for your business?" He's like, "I haven't filed taxes at all, like for individual or business." He's like looking at me as if speaking gibberish, like, "What language is this?" And I said, I just, I don't know where this came from me. I think it's just the asshole contrarian in me. And it's just like, "Don't ever contact me again." I just walked out. It's just like, I didn't want it. Like, it's not that he's he's a nice man with a nice business and he just went through so many crazy life circumstances. He just didn't get around to doing taxes. No, he's up to something. He's like, the signs were there, the shop, his mannerism, and unfortunately that his cultural background. I have to say, I hate to put stereotypes on it, but I mean, something about first world or like other world tendencies. You don't understand the rule of law here. You don't respect that. So I just couldn't deal with that. So I just walked out.
That's not a failure story. Staying true to your morals and values. And you don't need to, I mean, I feel like accountants, like, you don't always have to say yes, right? You don't have to accept every single client.
Exactly.
Very cool. Well, I love that success story. Yeah, I've done a M&A, bookkeeping, accounting, and closing financials myself. I feel like it's such an interesting, unique experience of closing the
It is.
books, doing the purchase transactions, and making sure everything is wrapped up and clean before you pass it over. That's really cool. That's really cool. Have you done a few of them now, or is that one of your first ones? First and only?
No, it's like it just fell in my lap. So started as just that one started as just a regular ongoing bookkeeping
Yeah.
client project. But it turns out that they didn't realize, I mean, they were in talks with this other bigger, much publicly traded company to acquire them, and they really even didn't realize that it was that serious. But the big, the big boy, the big dog reached down and said, "You're mine now." So I went along for the ride. It was great.
But amazing, Tommy. So admirable. How you're just saying yes and putting yourself in those situations to get opportunity. I think that says a lot about you. But maybe just a quick change on a different topic. Obviously, with my background, as you know, started my career as a chartered accountant, bookkeeper as well, also CFO, so very similar to you, and then pivoted into kind of tech as a product manager and building products for accountants at Gusto. So we do have to talk about tech, unfortunately. And I know it's a hot topic now. And yeah, just curious, like you've been in the industry for a while now, like 10, 15, 20 years. How have you how have you adopted technology over the years, and how has it helped you drive efficiencies or being a better accountant? I'd just love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really funny that nowadays most accountants are behind the tech. But when I started working, that was like software and accounting went hand in hand. When I started in the early 2000s, like there was no Salesforce, there was no CRM, there was no like NetSuite or Oracle. Like there was, but it's like not so like commonly used tech out there,
Yeah.
let alone AI and ChatGPT, right? So salespeople went out, did sales, and had a little journal, had their meetings and presentations. Operations had their own system. So maybe operations and accounting went hand in hand when it comes to in-house tech. And a lot of software companies back then were making B2B software companies writing software and code for other businesses out there. It was for ops and accounting. It's like where most of that was very necessary. The most important legacy tech companies, when we think about it, was, I mean, basically one of your industries is payroll along with QuickBooks, really, accounting softwares. But fast forward to now, it's like so many accountants, both corporate and fractional freelancers running their own shops. We're a little bit, overall, generally, we're a little bit behind the tech. You can almost feel the apprehension that accountants have with something like ChatGPT. Like, not really. But for me, it's like I only got into this arrangement because I saw the writing on the wall about 10 years ago with QuickBooks, and I actually went into one of their one of Intuit's quarterly reports and seeing
Hmm.
how they're actively cannibalized. They were basically like their corporatese language in that report was saying that they're actively cannibalizing QuickBooks Desktop to gain more QuickBooks Online clients. And this was back when QuickBooks Online has only one or two trim levels. It was like $9, $10 a month, and yeah, it was crazy to see that. And that's when I realized, oh, this could work. This could work as a before remote working was even in the imagination of anyone else. I thought that I could become a fully freelancing fractional bookkeeping controller, and I'd rarely have to visit my clients. Like that was always like one of the biggest hurdles to like the conventional thinking that, "Oh, can you come to our office and do the books?" I'm like, no, 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 this is not going to happen. You're gonna scam me and scan me and send me everything. Hell, you can even fax me things. You guys remember HelloFax or things like that?
Yeah.
You could even fax me things, scan me and send me everything. You don't even have to give me banking access, but Chase got around to that and started having, third party few access. Chase has been great about that. And so it's like it was all coming together, and this was just 10 years ago, It's like the movement was getting there inch by inch, but Intuit definitely opened the floodgates for that to happen. But for me now, it's like, okay, I've been meaning to sign up for ChatGPT Premium just because like it's just a Google search on steroids. Like it just helps you make decisions much easier instead of because like what it's the unknown factor where you have choice A, choice B, but you not even considering choice C or D that you haven't even thought about, you know? So just
Yeah.
another angle that you need to consider on a regular basis in terms of whether small decisions, small solutions, or even bigger strategy things that you're just blind to at the moment.
I love that. Yeah, I guess with ChatGPT, it's almost like a brainstorm buddy that you can just chat with, talk to, and that's really cool. It's really cool. A takeaway of mine listening to you speak is like you saw cloud accounting giving you this sense of freedom to kind of work however you want, work wherever you want. And I've realized like over the last few years talking to more bookkeepers and accountants, a lot of people get into this profession because of that. It's like autonomy to work for themselves, kind of own their own schedule in their day. That's really cool. I didn't really think deeply about what cloud accounting has enabled.
Absolutely. And I think like CPAs do like it's really funny because in general, from what I see, and as someone now getting into taxes, we have a mixed relationship with technology. Like we're there to consume what's like the best, but we're not there to like experiment or to be a part of the discussion of like there should be this, there should be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've heard me like rant about, oh, there should be this kind of thing or that kind of thing, or not everything needs to be consolidated into one. It could be just a feature driven, not multiple holistic solution driven products, but no, just have one app that just does bank recs. Just have one app that is just mapping out chart of accounts. Like you don't need one big thing, one big QuickBooks account to solve everything. Sometimes things do need to be parceled out.
Do you think that'll be your preference? Like, I feel like I've spoken to a few bookkeepers, and some say they don't want a whole tech stack; they want one stack. And then have spoken to a few bookkeepers where like it'd be nice if it's broken up. What's your thoughts on that, and just like why?
I think it's a problem of the marketplace. What the demand wants, we need to voice, we need to show, we need to experiment, we need to reward those who are experimenting and trying. And also, like, we can't, like, even the demand side, we just can't be lazy about it. Oh, as all my colleagues are using this app, so I should use this app, the FOMO effect. But it's also the supply side. It's like everyone is trying to be the next QuickBooks. Everyone is trying to be the next be all end all ERP level software where clearly that doesn't work. A great example is QuickBooks Payroll. It's horrible. QuickBooks Payroll is horrible. It's been horrible from the get-go, and it always has been. I think recently in the last couple of years, I haven't read about it, but they're pulling the plug on it, or it's almost on its last lifeline, I bet. But they've just like you could just tell that just because it's embedded, it's part of it, does not mean it's always good. How do you record payroll? It, like just from that get-go was just a mess. Just timesheets, like even timesheets, that needs to be sometimes, a lot of times, it needs to be a standalone process because timesheets can be used different ways, not for the same way. It's not always for payroll, it's for sometimes for billing. So yeah, like some tools need to be independent. Like you can't have a drill, driver, saw, everything all in one. There's no such thing. And if there is such a thing, they're usually not good at all those tasks. So it's the same thing with the county stack.
Couldn't agree more. Sometimes focus is so important, and prioritizing and knowing what you do best and doing that as best as possible goes a long way. I mean, Gusto has done amazing through just really laser focusing on payroll, and I've always found that interesting how people use Intuit QuickBooks and there's payroll there, but they still choose Gusto for payroll. Like to your point, it's best in class in that space.
And I'm not just saying this because you're a friend, but it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's just two of us are just always looking for by merit, objectively the best stuff. Like I've always told my clients, prospective clients, if you're not on Gusto, you're just wasting time and money. Like ADP is great, Paychex has fallen behind. Um, There's Works is great, but it's a little pricier, and they're focusing a lot on the PEO side. So, and there's Rippling, of course, which is a whole nother ball game. But for what it is for most small businesses, Gusto is just right, and it's very hard to beat it.
Yeah, I realized like with payroll and tax, like the main thing is accuracy, completeness, and it should just work fine. It doesn't need to have all the bells and whistles, and that's the most important thing. Just confidence in the product and that it delivers on time, and that's the most important thing in this space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, you don't need any AI or anything fancy. It should just work. Very cool. Maybe just that's a good segue on. Unfortunately, we probably do have to talk about AI a bit, and you talked about how you started using it. But could you like double click into that, and how have you started using it in your day to day, either personally or professionally?
I'm quite honest, I haven't really gone into it day to day. I've been playing around with it with the free version. And also, it's kind of a new cocktail party trick these days. Kind of like a couple of friends, we get together, have a nice dinner, have some nice drinks, and someone opens up their premium ChatGPT on their phone and just give us a rundown, and that was a lot of fun. I think for myself, and I think a lot of there's any solopreneurs out there like myself, like pretty much how you and I think. I think it helps with a lot of areas that we're not so comfortable in. For me, I've been procrastinating so long, but I definitely need a lot of help in the marketing side. So I've been focusing on just an email newsletter. So that's one thing that something like ChatGPT can really help, because it's really just a matter of asking the app like, give me a, just really explain the situation. I want to start a newsletter. Give me a random but great text topic that most people will find useful, and they'll give out one great text topic. So, and I do that a few times and have basically a mostly fleshed out article that I can share, and that'll be probably the script for a Loom video. We talked about Loom before, and that's how the newsletter can come together. And also ask about, if I have the premium version, then it keeps a log of it, remembers all my tendencies. So, and what I'm trying to accomplish. So I could ask it, what am I missing here? What else should be a part of the email? Is there any links, like Calendly, perhaps? Would that be effective? So that's one great use case scenario for areas that I'm just not super comfortable in.
Well, I can't wait for your first blog on my first tax season. I'll be waiting to read that. And I feel like, yeah, ChatGPT these days, let alone research, right? You can even ask it like, hey, write me a 800-word essay and blog in my tone and voice, and you break it down into these sections. And that could be a good starting point for you to just get your creative juices going. Yeah, pretty crazy. I guess like on that, just thinking forward, yeah, I know you haven't used it too much, but do you see any other value or benefits AI could unlock for bookkeepers and accountants like yourself?
It's got to be processes. I think like I was helping out a client of mine, and they didn't realize that there's um sales tax service solutions, like just what Gusto does for payroll. There's now like a growing, it's still small. Stripe has one for sales tax called TaxJar. I haven't used it myself, but it seems to be the definite market leader right now. But it should be a growing segment for have a app-based app approach of sales tax solutions. But my client didn't even know about that. I know I'm sounding a little repetitive, but along with your blind spots, I think it's also like processes driven, and it's like not just like finding new apps and what's on the market, but it's just like, what am I missing here? How can I make this process a little bit more efficient for myself? Or being collaborative as well. Like if you teach, because you have to teach ChatGPT, oh, this colleague of mine, this staff member of mine, this team member of mine is doing so and so, and I'm doing so and so, but can we make it better? How can it be improved? Things like that. And it would probably spit out a very objective, logical answer that sounds and seems the best, that a lot of people and places, like, they may or may not be apprehensive about for very unsophisticated reasons, such as ego or rank or such.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Wow, very cool. Very cool. I want to move to another topic and just thinking about where the industry is right now of accounting, finance, and tax. And we're seeing some crazy stats about the decline in supplier professionals in the space, and things like graduates and new CPA applications are falling and declining. We'll love to just pick your brains a little bit on, do you have any comments or thoughts on that? On how do we get to where we are today? We'd love to just learn more.
Once again, as I've learned from the illustrious California State University of Los Angeles, economics, Bachelor of Arts, 2008, I barely passed. Such a bad student. It's a matter of supply and demand. I feel like not enough is talked about. Well, maybe a little bit, but I don't think from the big four to regional accounting firms. I think the small accounting firms are definitely getting with the times. They're definitely offering more competitive, not just compensation, but lifestyles and arrangements. So I think the young people particularly who are, still ambitious about having a great accounting career, they're definitely finding unique and rewarding opportunities, work-life balance and such within smaller regional firms. And I think it's just the bigger ones, particularly the big four, the salaries have not been moving much. All they do is, and really I'm just a peon here in New York City with all these crazy big firms here in New York and across the country. They're really not, they're doing jack. They're complaining. All they're doing is just, they're being very boomerific. They're just complaining about these young people, these millennials and Zoomers, but not wanting to work. And yet their salaries have not increased. They're not being competitive at all. They're just complaining. So yeah, you like offer work-life balance, offer 50 hours a week max throughout the year, no crazy season. Offer whatever it is, like offer amazing, benefits or time, actual unlimited PTO or whatever it is. But you have to almost lead that effort. I remember reading a story once where, I don't know if law firms are still doing this, but in law, they're offering I don't know what the actual term is. Maybe it's permanent contract. Maybe it's kind of like a pension, perhaps, of after like years of service, 10, 15, 20 years of service. There's going to be, which is unheard of in the private sector. Law firms have, it's called the non-partner track. So yeah, so if attorneys and employees for certain sizable law firms, they get to a point where they've been with the same firm for 10 years or such, the time starts ticking on your pension. Now you become a pension employee, and you get to a certain point, you get full pension, which is crazy. But that's these law firms of trying to keep key talent who are not partner tracked. They're not going to be partner, but they are going to be attorneys. They're going to be great attorneys. They're going to be great middle managers. They're going to be great support staff, and they want to reward them because definitely the margins for law firms have enough money to invest in their precious talent. So, and I just feel like accounting businesses have not been competitive, to be quite honest.
Makes sense. I've been thinking a lot about this, like the decline in supply in the industry, and I guess stats like 75% of accountants are nearing a retirement age in the next 15 years. I feel like people like yourself would probably benefit the most in a way. You've been in the space for a while, you have a lot of experience, and you obviously have been a lot of credibility. So I feel like you should probably get more clients, one thing, and then maybe you should be able to maybe increase your fees with this just disparate supply and demand situation. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a matter of salesmanship, marketing, relationship building, business. I think it's a matter of proving your value to, like, from the get-go. Of course, it's very difficult to upcharge a current long-standing client, but proving your value to a prospective client, certain sizable businesses in a mid-sized city, they want to outsource their accounting and taxes and everything. That's a good chunk of change for any tax and accounting firm. But you have to prove it. You have to prove it. Even those kind of like businesses that do 5, 10, 20 million a year, privately owned, non-publicly traded, they've been tossed around. For sure, they've been tossed around by the big four, and a lot of these. I've actually. It's crazy. This I just realized. It's crazy to think that I've inherited the accounting portion for a couple of these small businesses, tech startups or family-owned businesses, and they used to go with like a big 20 accounting firm, at least for the accounting portion, but they just got the ugly duckling treatment from these big firms, and they're paying crazy annual fees for their services. So it's crazy that I somehow inherit just a one person shop. I inherit their accounting bookkeeping portion, and we go out and find the right tax and audit people to handle that part. I think there's so much, once again, so much prestige and bureaucracy really within the big accounting firm, and they're just looking out for their own asses really, and they're not looking out to the clients and really what they're providing, which is like their competitive edge. Like they have so much, they have so much straw, and but not much to go with it. They're not really backing up their talk.
Yeah, very cool, Tommy. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting next 10 years. But maybe on that, like looking ahead on the future of the industry, how do you kind of see the space evolving over the next 5 years? Any challenges the industry may have or not?
I mean, once again, just being a fan of economics, it's just bracing the pending economic correction, really, just dealing with all the instability and changes that may or may not happen. I don't know how the elections will turn out in next week, but I think either way, it's going to be like the market will be stressed. I think markets are already stressed, and not just the stock markets, but also like the human markets. I have a friend who works for Amazon, and he's dealing with the full 5 day return to office memo that went out, and so he's been at Amazon for a couple of years now, but he's looking to jump ship. And so it's going to be interesting, not just finance wise, but just the job market wise and culturally. And I feel actually it might be a good, maybe it's just I'm very positive, but for small, mid-sized accounting firms, and for local regional firms, I think it's been a great time because I think accounting is going to be valued, highly valued once again. I think that's the thing that's not been talked about. Finance has been taking a lot of the talent from colleges, the right brain and the spreadsheet driven, the number driven kind of stuff. Back in the day, accounting, it was the
Hot
shining
topic.
star. Like
Yeah,
a lot of people young people wanted to join Arthur Anderson and
that was
whatnot.
me.
Yeah, I'm
I'm guilty
sorry.
of that.
I didn't mean to call you that. But no, you're one of the examples. I
Yeah,
remember, I started college at a great school. I didn't finish it there, but I remember a lot of people very excited to work in
yeah,
consulting at one of these big six firms, big eight firms. And but it's not the case anymore. People, if they want to pay their dues, they go work in investment banking, which has been the case for the last 10, 15 years. But who knows? Maybe with this economic correction that probably will happen in the next couple of years, or even in the next year or so, maybe finance will finally. Tech has kind of slowed down in terms of its social and cultural allure, but maybe it'll also jump over to finance as well. Realize that maybe there's too much fluff in finance. Maybe we should get back to learning the basics. Like there's so many finance people that like it's such a art more than science, and there's so much more. Like I've come across house parties and cocktail parties, happy hours where young finance guys, particularly older finance guys, they know it. But young finance guys would love to like have a dick measuring contest with me in terms of accounting and finance concepts. I'm like, bro, you don't know what you're talking about. Get out of
yeah,
my face.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but that's their prestige, that's their bureaucracy. I'm not part of their tribe, but I have a good feeling about accounting and young people who really want to work hard and who are really smart and who really want to have a long and satisfying career. I think, and I'm gonna be one of the biggest proponents of it when I come across people. I just got my EA license, but I've been
Yeah.
telling other people, you should get into tax. You should get into tax. I'm like
Nice.
Oprah. You should open a tax business. You should open up a tax business. Like because I feel like taxes and accounting is such a great thing, and it's like so many people are in
Fundamental.
finance and just dealing with the headache of bureaucracy. And well, if you ever want to open up your business, particularly in tax, I can help you out. And or you can open up your own strip club and I can do your books, So
I love it,
yeah,
Tommy. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of why I got into accounting. It's a language of business, right? It's like fundamental to how, I mean, not, in a way, how the world revolves in the world of business, and everyone kind of goes back down to like financials and numbers and debits and credits, and yeah, that's not gonna disappear anytime
yeah.
soon.
That's direct quote from Warren Buffett. Counting is a language of business.
Oh, really? I did not know that's where I got taught that in high school, and now I know where it came from. Really cool. What?
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing. Well, I know we're approaching time, and how I like to end my podcast is fast five questions, which is basically five quick questions to get to know Tommy a bit better. Talking about your craft, so the first one, talk about your craft of bookkeeping. What's one thing you like about bookkeeping and one thing you dislike about bookkeeping?
Bookkeeping has a definite end to it. Like right now, early November, now I have to close the books of October, and there's a definite end to it, and there's a right answer to it. So that's very rewarding. That's a great part about it. Difficult part about it is sometimes within the details, the minutia within there's gray areas, and you just have to take into consideration the time and effort and the audience, really, how they're going to see the end product, the financials, and if that really matters. And you can always write a qualitative footnote, really, just a little line, just a little bullet point, by the way. So not everything has to be binary, but that's always difficult sometimes to realize.
Materiality and all that. Yeah, that human element. That's why. Yeah, that AI part can't really assess, and I feel like yeah, that part is really really cool. Next question. I know you have I know we've spoken about this about billing clients, and you have a unique take on it. And some clients bill by time, and some people do not. What's your thoughts on this, and what's the future?
I mean, I think there's levels to the game. I mean, even below time is like almost like a commoditized process, like pricing, right? So it's like just a one-off tax shop on a corner in the neighborhood, and presumably that tax business has been around for like 20 years. So you bring in your W-2 and whatever, you have two kids, and they'll do your tax returns for like $300. You're in, you're out, you're done. That definitely works, especially with like people who don't speak English or whatnot. But then you go above that, then you're doing some kind of work, you bill by time. And then you go above that, you have value added billing. But then I take it a step further, because here's a deal. Now we're towards the end of this episode. I always, particularly for bookkeeping, and I might do this somehow figure this out well, for individuals, it's taxes. It's kind of obvious to see their W-2s and whatnot. For business bookkeeping, I always get all the bank statements of my prospective clients before I draft an agreement. I see how much money I have. I actually see how much money they have. So, I mean, they could be saying like, "Oh, I'll run a painting business." You wouldn't think too much about painting business makes so much money, but not until you see the bank accounts and seeing how much reserves they have, and then you can see how much, and then you compare it to how bad their books look like. So it's like, okay, I think I can get this amount, and I mean, it feels wrong sometimes, but it's also like they can afford it. They're obviously doing well for themselves, and I know I can make them feel good about my services, which almost no one in accounting talks about. Like like not just closing the deal and signing the contract, but continuing that relationship of making them feel like they're winning. They're winning with me and my services. Like they're being competitive
Love
within
that.
their own local area, that now that they have me on their team, they're being very competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you paint the picture that together we're the dream team. Very, very cool. Yeah, I feel like pricing with your experience. I think as you get more experience, you have more. You can make the right judgment calls and rely on your intuition a lot more compared to maybe someone starting off.
And a lot of times it's just like I've had several actual sleepless nights, just trying to figure out what to price. Like if the client is broke, it's so easy. It's like they have no money, they have no option. So it's like either they sign me for the lowest level, lowest amount of work, the cheapest thing, and that's it, and see how that goes. But it's the most headache for me when the client has a lot of money, has a very profitable business. Like, how do I charge this? You know, it sounds, and it may sound absurd at first, but then if I can convince myself that they're actually gonna appreciate this fee along with my services, that's a good starting point.
What's maybe just still on billing and pricing? What's your thoughts on monthly recurring subscriptions in accounting? I know when I started 10 years ago, partners that I used to work with was like try to get our clients on monthly recurring instead of like once a year payments. What do you think of that? Is that something that excites you, or is there a future of it?
Yeah, I think it excites me. It excites a lot of smart accountants out there. I think that's how it should go. I mean, I think like it's just easier to forecast and budget and like a napkin estimate of cash flow for themselves as well. But it's also like a human element to that for them to see, to log into the bank on a monthly basis that wonderful tax group is billing them X amount. Like they may ignore, maybe it's not time for our quarterly check-in. Maybe they see my financial statements that I sent to them on a monthly basis, but it's an additional reminder to them that, hey, I exist, you're paying me, I'm part of your world. Like that they're paying me as opposed to like I'm just an annual burden, just as the IRS is, New York State is. You know, like, oh, I have to pay this guy. I mean, he's done a great job, and I'm not gonna fire him. I'm only gonna refer more people to him. But this fee of like 3,000, 5,000, $10,000, it's just too burdensome all at once. Even though the guy is like multimillionaire. Yeah, I think definitely monthly is the way to go.
Yeah, that's so true. I couldn't agree more. I remember even with my accountant, whenever I see his email pop up once a year, it's like, "Hi, David, it's that time of the year again." I quickly try to delete it. No, I did not. I did not. But yeah, I know what you mean. But whereas I feel like if it was like more recurring as more like an annual monthly relationship, I'd be less fearful of that email. All right, next question. Maybe just looking forward, what excites you the most about the future of the industry of accounting, finance, tax, bookkeeping?
Actually, the shortage of accountants is kind of exciting. I think the boomers finally have to let go. They've been holding on to it for so long, and I'm just right behind them too. I'm in my 40s. So yeah, so it's time for not even people around my age, but hopefully younger people can get in. Like my nieces and nephews, they're teenagers. I have six nieces and nephews, and fun to daydream. I'm just starting my tax business, and it'd be really cool and interesting how it turns out as I looking to grow, looking to buy out retiring CPA and EA's book of businesses. And maybe one day down the line, 10 years, 20 years down the line, one of my nieces and nephews can actually work with me, work for me. And maybe it turns out I could give it to them. That's a nice little daydream to have. But other things that it really excites me is that I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, it's just like accounting and tax is this strange area of responsibility for everyone. We literally call citizens taxpayers. So everyone has to be a part of this very what's called the involuntary voluntary system. The smartest people still need help with it, and it's just how can you not get excited about that, even though it's like AI and whatnot and young people shortages and getting into the field. Yeah, but corrections will happen one way or another, and you just got to roll with the difficulties and challenges that it's just a level playing field that everyone's going to have.
I love that. I think you put it so well that fundamentally, irrespective of what technology changes and involvements in the space, debits and credits, and you still need to file taxes. Like those things do not disappear, and
Yeah,
those things will not change.
yeah, just telling people like another prospective client. This is just happened this week, and she was God bless her, but it's like she wants to deduct all her rent. She's paying New York City rent, $10,000. She's doing well for herself, but she wants to deduct all of that. And I said, I'll be aggressive beyond her half on terms of deductions, but I don't know if I can be that aggressive. Well, it's like the premise is like you still have to listen to me as your tax advisor. If you don't listen to me, why are we doing this? Well, it's just theater. It's just a play. Like, I don't want to go to jail with you. So yeah, I'll be aggressive. Like, maybe I'll put that Starbucks you buy every day as an office expense, but I'm not so sure if I could deduct,
Yeah.
$10,000 of your personal home every month of you as a business expense. So it's all a matter of situation that probably ChatGPT can't solve perfectly for you. So things like that really excite me.
It's so interesting. For the first 6-7 years of my career, I dealt with so many similar clients. Like, David, can I deduct this? Can I deduct that? Like, I'm going to a trip to Europe. How much can I deduct? Can I deduct the flights and the hotels? And in a way, it's almost one of the only professions of like advisor client where you almost get advised a lot, right? As an accountant, it's like becomes flipped in a way. It's just so interesting thinking about that.
It's almost like we're like literally being their parents. Like, no,
can I do this?
You just have to slap them under with, no, you can't do that, which is, it never fails to amuse me. Like, yeah, you can't do that. I once made the mistake of telling a client that he can reimburse his employees because he was running a startup, and he can reimburse his employees for certain things. And then he just took it to a whole nother level. Like, it's
Vegas
reimbursing
trips.
like reimbursing rent, reimbursing just so many things. So
Wow.
it's like, you're not. You should be paying. First of all, you should be paying them a salary. You're not even paying their salary. Just everything is a reimbursement. Also, like, I understand multi-billionaires do that with their partners and whatnot, but you're not there yet. So let's get you there. Then you can have some luxuries or leniences, but not right now.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll go final 2 questions. I know we're approaching time. Well, I love asking this one. What's your favorite quote or mantra you like to live by?
Favorite quote?
Yeah, quote, mantra, maybe, this is not bookkeeping related, but just more Tommy related.
Nothing is as constant as change.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great reminder. It's one of my favorites as well. I actually just searched that this week. I'm not lying, so it's actually pretty timely that you mentioned that.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, last one. I guess maybe more for yourself and the listeners. How can the audience help you, or what do you need help with right now?
I mean, besides getting clients, which is like really up to me, I think for the listeners, like, one, continue to follow your compass, like in terms of best practices and business and work and life philosophies, and don't be swayed too much about what's going on in the world. Don't be like driven by that. Be driven by yourself. But also, want to get a Zoom coffee sometimes. Just checking in with you, and I have our check-ins, and it's amazing to just know that there are other quirky, crazy, contrarian people out there sometimes trying to cook up their own little lab experiment in the basement. That's really how I feel like sometimes, and that solidarity and camaraderie of like just listening to what other people are trying to do in the business world. That's always very comforting.
I love that, Tommy. It makes me think about, like, we've had a few conversations, and you always say, like, when you talk to me, it's one of your favorite meetings during the week. Like, it's like very energizing and different, and I couldn't agree more. I think there's a beauty in community and meeting like-minded people. And yeah, it doesn't have to be lonely, right? You don't have to go through entrepreneurship or doing something yourself alone, and there's other people like us that's on that journey as well.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Tommy. You've been incredible. Thank you for being a big supporter and friend, and I'm looking forward to all the amazing things you do, in the many years to come. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
You, likewise.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Make It Count. We hope you found it valuable and entertaining. If you enjoyed the episode, please support us by subscribing to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube channels. Please also give us a rating or leave a review to help us reach more listeners. We'll see you in the next episode for more incredible conversations with accounting, finance, and tax leaders around the world.